Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our live book show. I'm just so excited because I have my sister here with me, and she, she has agreed. But before we bring her on, I mean, she's on already. Before we talk a little bit more about her, I just want to welcome you all to our May month, the book club review. So, for those of you who have been following us, I would like for you to go ahead and share. And I'm going to go ahead and welcome our sister. And then, if you have to add some more sharing and allow Chidima to go ahead and, bring on her watch party and things like that. But I'm Dawn. So, some of you know me from Happy Harvest Ministry. So I also have an extension of that that I have with the books, and we do book reviews every month. We have book discussion about books. We try to bring on authors if we can. That's the best part to me about a book club, where you can actually talk to the author and meet the author, and have questions and things like that about. I just think books are phenomenal aspect of our life, and learning and gaining knowledge is power. So whether it's nonfiction or fiction, because you learn so much things from fiction, and you can incorporate it in the world. So welcome, Chidima and Lucium. She
Thank you
goes
for
by
having
Arthur
me.
T, and some call her T, and she has so many. She's a very, very, very good sister of mine. We're sisters, spiritual sisters.
Yes.
So I just dropped the other word. You're my sister.
Yes.
Her mom, I call her mom, and she's also my spiritual mom. So I just go by mom. But just for the background of some of you don't, who's wondering, I didn't know Dawn had this, but these are my sisters. She's one of them, and actually, Sigma is the middle sister out of three sisters. Beautiful, beautiful family. I love her daily, and this is not just a show. This is for real. She knows how much I love her and her family. And I said, would you do a book show with us? I've read her book, and I'm just excited for her to dig into it. We're going to ask some questions and let her tell us a little bit about herself, and we'll go from there. So we're just going to pause for a second, and we're going to let you go ahead. Make sure you're sharing, make sure you have invited others, because I think this is going to be, not just only book experience, but life experience, and hear about the things that Chidima has shared in the book and so forth. And I mainly want to focus on Chidima mostly in the book, and we'll explain. So, without further ado, welcome, Chidima. You can go ahead and talk a little if you would like.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And Sister Dawn, I love you too. It's such a pleasure to be here, where I said to share space with you and to share knowledge and wisdom and love. But for those of you that don't know me, I am Chidima Anusim. I also go by Author Chi. I am a best-selling author of From Glass to Stone, where I share my story from pain to power. I went through a very tumultuous divorce and was able to rebuild my life. And so I shared that story on how you also can overcome setback. I'm also an empowerment speaker. Yes, that's the book. Thank you. I'm an empowerment speaker and life after divorce coach. So if you know anyone that's going through a divorce or a breakup, I am that coach that helps you to pick up the pieces afterwards and to redesign your best life and help you embrace love again. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, and I have a beautiful baby girl, 6-year-old girl. I always got to plug her in there. My mini me.
Oh, that's right. And you know how mothers are. We just can't go through our stories without bringing
No.
our babies up. Whether they like, some people talk about baby kids, some people talk about their princess kids, some people. So, however,
Mhm.
you may hear us refer to our children somewhere along the line. And that's the
Absolutely.
beauty about life itself. I love it. And her daughter is truly mini me, her. Looks like her, acts like her. She's such a warm spirit little girl. I love her too. She's just
Thank
very
you.
gentle and gentle, and someday she'll experience greatness. She's
Yeah.
already experiencing it, but in her life going forward. So
I received that.
I'm excited. I'm excited. So with, we, for the book, we chose, not just because, like I said, I know you, and I try to read books to get a idea of what we want to choose for our book of the month. And I know this is a book club that basically is more for inspiration, encouragement, just for fun. And I'm an avid reader, so I read all sorts and different types and kinds of book, not just only for fun. I have the fun ones that I just read, and I have the one that I read for knowledge or learning experiences. And when I heard you wrote a book, of course, without a shadow of a doubt, I had to get it. And so I first bought it on Kindle because that's where it was at first. And I was really fascinated by the authors in here and every detail of life experiences that you all face. And I was like, wow, this is just really, it says 10 transformational story of resilience. And it truly is, it goes through the disparities of what you guys faced and how you come out. And I love yours, your story, Pain to Power. That line alone is just power. It's just, it's just something about that. Just, what I like about that is the fact that you hear the power more. So you rising from pain to power is an experience that can really help pull some people out of their pain. Just hearing, wow, pain to power, it brings life into a hopeless situation. So I just want to jump right into one of my first question, of course. And for those of you who are out there watching us, please send your questions in for Chidima if you have any. I'm sure she's not gonna mind about some questions, and I'll try to put the ones out to her from you guys. But the first question I want to ask you, Chidima, what inspired you to write this book?
That's a really good question. So obviously when I, went through my divorce, this is about 6 years ago, I was very private in sharing like the details, or a lot of people didn't even know I was divorced. I mean, unless you were really close to me. So I was just a very private person, especially as a believer. As a believer, going through divorce is very taboo. It's not a popular thing. So I just felt like, I don't know if people really understand, right? Kind of my unique experience with divorce and the fact that I didn't experience the shame and condemnation I thought I was going to experience. Mm-hmm. If anything, I felt the love of God even more so in that moment than I ever have in my life. Mm-hmm. And so it was just a new revelation for me around this thing called divorce. And the Lord really started pushing me to share my story. And I was a nervous wreck because I'm like, I don't want, I'm private. I don't want anybody in my business. Divorce is not one of those topics that you just want to, and tell people about. It's very intimate, it's private, and it involves another person. So definitely don't want to, make him look bad. That's not the goal. But the Lord spoke to me. He said, if you don't tell your story, you're being selfish. Because I didn't give you the story to keep to yourself. Mm-hmm. And I first shared my story on social media on Facebook, and I got like 150 comments like, oh my God, I didn't know you went through that. So fast forward, as I began to share more and more my story at women's retreats and just, conferences and things like that, I felt another nudge about 4 years later to write a book and really share more and get into more detail. And it so happened that this wonderful author named Ayana just happened to find me. She was a friend of my sister's, and she said, I'm doing an anthology. I heard a lot about you and your story. I would love for you to be an author of my book. And I'm like, all right, God, I got you. I'm going to do this. So that's kind of the beginning of this journey of them becoming part of From Glass to Stone. So
I like that. That's interesting. And just the fact that you were thinking about it and someone just,
Yeah.
I have a way of nudging you, but then he also have a way of just pushing you.
Yes.
It's almost like, oh, I have no choice. Let me get this done. So in your writing, and I know it's the anthology, what were your experiences, writing with these ladies and just knowing you're part of such something powerful like that?
It was interesting because some of the authors were previous authors and some of them were brand new like me, like never wrote a book before. So just being able to like collaborate with them and kind of pick their brains on how they tell their story and what their process is, because everybody's process was different. And then just to even hear their stories and know what they've been through, it was just this huge like healing experience, and this community, and just knowing that you're not alone. And it doesn't matter what your story is. It doesn't have to be dramatic, and gut wrenching for it to be impactful. But your story is your story as long as you share it. That's the power in it. It's just to share it. Someone will be able to relate to that, and someone will be able to be changed from that.
That's it. That's it right there. Someone, because everybody has a story and everybody has something that they've gone through that is different from yours. But sometimes it lines up with somebody else's other than you.
Right.
And that person that lines up with your story, that it doesn't line up with that other person's story. Exactly. So that's why it's important that if God is nudging you to tell it, when you do tell it, you see how you mentioned, without you even probably thinking that you were just sharing your story because you were just led to share, but not expecting the result that you've gotten, right?
Wow. Not at all. And that's why I just really encourage people to not downplay the gift that God gave you. It doesn't matter how small you think it is. The moment you apply it, the moment you step out and begin to execute, it's like God himself begins to partner with you, and he puts his super on your natural, right? He puts that power to that pain that you went through. And so he transforms that situation from something that you thought was minor to something magnificent. So, anybody listening today that's contemplating whether or not you should do, this gift or this burning desire you have on the inside of you, the answer is yes. Nothing's too small. So
I agree with that. That's good. That's good nugget. And so during your writing process, I'm kind of getting all the writing information out of the way, So during your writing process, because some people explain your support system.
Well, so I have a wonderful one, actually. I have a lot of really good close sisters like yourself that encouraged me. My mom, my biological sisters as well, to write my book. But I had a lot of fear because it was a very intimate story, right? Telling people about the emotionally and mental abuse that I went through. Going through that pain again, having to relive that pain again, and then putting in a book that's permanent that thousands, of people will have access to. I was like a nervous wreck. So I'm like, okay. So it took me about, because it's a chapter, it took me about, I want to say 30 days or a little bit over 30 days to really put the story together. I gave it to my writing coach at the time and I said, here's my story. I'm all done. And she said, that's not your story. I said, what you mean? Put 30 days on it. She said, no, you need to dig deep. You're playing it way too safe. You need to dig deep. So I'm like, oh my God. And I could not sleep that night because I was like, I just knew I did a good job. I was like, it's the bomb. She gonna love this. And she was like, so it was 12 o'clock at night. And I said, okay, that means I got to feel this pain again. I did not want to.
Wow.
So I allowed myself to go back 6 years and experience that pain all over again. And I started to write the story all over from the beginning. I scrapped the whole thing, and tears the entire time was just drenching my paper. And in what took me 30 days, took me 4 hours to rewrite because it just started to flow and pour and pour. And when I was done and I gave it to her, she said, Chidima, this is it. I can tell that this is truly your story. And so when I tell you that blood, sweat, and tears went into this, it literally did. And so that's what you'll get when you read From Pain to Power.
I did. And I'm glad you said that part, because now, I can talk about Chidima's story. And when I'm even look at my whole, I'm getting chills just, thinking about, when I read it. And I know Chidima from a long time. I know her, and she's never changed. So when I read this, it touched my core, because I think you handle it so well. And, God really have a way where you say, you really don't look like what you've been in when God, has you. And there's some areas in there that you wrote about, I remember the part. There's a section in there that you wrote, and forgive me, because I believe that you're okay to discuss this right now.
Of course. Oh, yeah.
That was your healing moment that you poured out. Yes. So I remember you talked about, you're at the wedding, and I was at the wedding too. So again, I didn't know any of this was going on. And you mentioned the area where you were trying to do your first dance on the floor. Mm-hmm. And what looked to us like y'all are probably just coercing, or y'all were actually arguing about, it was his best friend. Mm-hmm. And you were like, okay, let's deal with this later. We're on the floor and we're dancing, and he was having a hard time, and you're like, you're gonna put your best friend above me. And talk a little bit about that.
So it was my wedding day. And every woman, little girl dreams about their first dance, right? And I just knew it was going to be magical. I was excited, but I was shocked to find that during our first dance, he started to fuss about the wedding and what wasn't going right. And this, his best friend was cut off the mic too soon. He should have been able to give his toast a little longer, but he was drunk. So everybody was like, get him off the mic. But, he didn't see that part of it. So all that he was arguing, I said, can we just enjoy our first dance? And if you prefer to talk about your best friend versus focusing on our first dance, I'm walking off this floor. And he said, okay. And in that moment, I didn't know if I should run or stay to save face, because so many people were watching. Mm-hmm. But I knew that was a sign that I think I made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And it, that sinking feeling of you made a mistake, but yet there's nothing you can do. Like, you have to keep moving forward in it. And it was a very devastating thing. And that was the beginning of some of the beginnings of a verbally and abusive marriage, and just being yelled at and belittled and called names and being accused of cheating, and just all of these things that narcissistic people do to make you seem like you're the bad guy all the time and everything's your fault. And me not really knowing that was abuse, me just thinking, oh, this is just how marriage is. People say marriage is hard. So I'm trying to be that good Christian wife and love him through it and pray him through it, but not realizing that it was a very toxic relationship. And so that's the kind of things that now I shed light to, because although we do love our husbands and we love God, we still have to have wisdom. And we still have to understand when there's something that we're in that's not healthy for us. It's causing mental issues and emotional issues and physical issues. And when it gets to that point, that's when we raise our hand and ask for help. So that was a little bit about just adding more context to that part of the story.
So, and that's important what you just mentioned about, I heard you say at that moment, you recognize something and you stayed the course just because. And I think for those of you who are watching, for the people who are out there, I really, really recommend that you get her book. because it's just so much life lessons that's in here that can help you. And, I think a lot of women do that. A lot of women, whether it's women or men, because let me tell you, men is going through so many things now too. But
Yes.
I think a lot of women do that. And we go through I think at that moment, because it's hitting you like right dead spot in the middle of a wedding, and you're trying to save shame than actually deal with the fact, what, the long term is probably worse than now. And a lot of us do that, and then find yourself later on you're having to try to pick up the pieces and things like that. So I think that's a good area right now that you just mentioned for people to just recognize when in any situation when you get that nudge or you get that inner feeling like this is wrong, it needs to be addressed and dealt with. And
my mom said something to me because we broke off our engagement at one point before we got married because of these red flags that were popping up. And my mom said, it's better that you cry now than cry worse later. And I didn't understand what she meant by that. I was just like, okay, Mom, but I understand now. The tears that I cried during my marriage and after my divorce were way more intense than when I cried when I had to initially end the relationship. So for people that are dating and you're not married yet and you're seeing things that are toxic, it's better to cut it now than prolong it and have even a worse experience. Mm-hmm. And so again, I'm not an advocate for divorce or anything like that. I do encourage people to work through their issues and get help. But when you see that it's not working and you've done everything you could, and if you're in the dating phase, you really need to use wisdom. And if it's time to cut it off, it's time to cut off. It's not worth the pain later. And I just wanted to share that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have Leslyn is watching. Hey, Leslyn.
Hey, Leslyn.
And Dawn, welcome. And we have Sanjay. She said, great point. Verbal abuse in marriage is often confused with the saying, marriage is hard. I think she mentioned that earlier. And, it's important for us to recognize that. But I want you to touch on another point that I read that was did touch. Like I said, your whole story was very, very touching, and I just really enjoyed the writing. When you write, because and this is a book review, I love the writing, because when I can feel the author, that's good writing. Oh yes, because you go into that space. So you take on what the author is saying so you can have a comprehensive idea of what they're going through. And you see within in the lens of that writer. And that's how I felt. I felt like everything you mentioned, I was there. I was feeling it, And the part that was really touching to me was when you got pregnant. And you talked about the verbal abuse, even during your pregnancy. You talk about even after you have the baby. Touch a little bit on that, like the things that were said to you and how you felt. And you're like, this is supposed to be this precious time, and you feel horrible. And, just talk about that too.
Yeah, because, I thought having a baby would make my marriage better. And that's
a popular saying.
Ooh, women we do that, and I didn't know. I thought it would make it better, and we all know, even if it's a beautiful babies are beautiful. It's a blessing to have baby, but they are stressors. They add stressors to your marriage, or they add stress to your marriage, and I didn't realize that at the time. And so, and I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. But after I had my daughter, I was in a hospital room, and the nurse came to get the baby for me because I was exhausted. I hadn't slept all night. And she said, do you want me to take the baby away? You look tired. It's 4:00 in the morning. I hadn't slept since I had her that day. And so I said, sure, go ahead. And so my ex-husband woke up and said, what are you doing? I said, well, the nurse wanted to, take the baby so I can rest. He was like, you already giving somebody your responsibility as a mother. Like, this is your responsibility. Like, how dare you let her take your child? Like, I knew you couldn't do this. I knew you was going to be like this. And it was like, not even 24 hours of being a mother, I was already told how horrible of a mother I was. No sympathy to the fact that I just had a baby that I'm, trying to, recuperate and get myself together and needing that help. And I needed a lot of help when I had her. I had carpal tunnel in both hands. I couldn't really do a lot. So the abuse was worse because I needed more help, and I was called lazy and stupid. And I'm just taking advantage of the situation and trying to, pretend that I need all this help. And that was when I realized, like, this is not going to change. This is not going to change. And I had to make a decision. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I had to make a decision if I was going to be the beginning of a generational curse. Because if I stayed in this marriage, that would begin a generational curse for my daughter to see a toxic marriage. I didn't see that growing up. So I would have been that beginning. I had to make a decision. I said, I don't want to be the beginning of a generational curse for her. I want her to see healthy. I want her to experience pure love. And if it means that I have to walk away and do it by myself, it's worth me doing that. And one thing about generational curses, they're birthed from selfish decisions. I could have made a selfish decision and said, I'm going to stay here and just pretend that everything's okay for that security, so she can have both parents, all that kind of stuff. But the selfless decision was, I wanted better for her. I wanted to expose her to better. And if it meant that I had to be temporarily uncomfortable and inconvenienced for her sake, then I'm going to do that. And so that's what caused me to make the decision to separate and work on my marriage remotely. But unfortunately, it didn't work. So.
Wow, that was, I'm not gonna have you give away too much of the book because I want people to purchase the book. I mainly, I'm just excited about, you being bold and courageous and getting to that point. And I'm glad you talk about the earlier parts, because sometimes, as authors or just decision makers in general, I think people just value the outcome more than they don't want to hear too much of the story behind it, So just looking at you, like I said, you've always looked the same. I've never seen you look cry down or like, I've never seen you look like you're going through, even though I was close to you guys, And like I said, that's the beauty, but a lot of that, Sanjay, and she said, the strength of a woman.
Yes.
And that's what God built us to be, because, I think what it is too, when we look like what we're going through, then we get a whole lot of pity comments. And that's not good for your strength. That's not good for your comeback. So you find people break down more. Have you ever tried to cry, or have you ever tried to hold back crying, and then someone just start comforting you, and then it just
oh yes.
it just flows out. That's how pity party works, and people like, misery like company. So the more miserable you look is the more tension you get, is the more miserable you stay, know.
That's so, a good point.
Yeah. And I think with you, handling and I'm not saying everybody is like you or like us, but I think sometimes when people are going through a situation, they may find themselves confined in maybe one or two people or those kind of things that they know can just help uphold them and not allow them to break down. And even if they broke down, then it's a place where you can be built back up for strength. But then you have the other group of people that helps tear you down even more, because you might complain, you might whine, and they're like, yeah, and then you find that you're like going down that slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's so hard for you to like, oh God, where's the arms and the pillars here I need, but I think your story, like I say, it's a good story for women and anyone who's going through, not necessarily the the good thing, like I said about the book, for those of you, again, this is From Glass to Stone, and it is 10 Transformational Stories of Resilience by Chidima Anusiam. This book is really awesome. Awesome. And a matter of fact, the other stories in this book is phenomenal. I mean, I was listening to one of the ladies in the book, for those of you again, and Michelle mentioned she experienced that all the time. Yes. What we were talking about with the strength and the pity party. So she's she's experienced that all the time, she mentioned. But like going back to the book, like I mentioned, I think it's the lady Donette Charlton. I can't remember if it was her or the other lady, Makiba, but and they all had great stories.
Yes.
They were like the one that been to jail just over something simple. But the one that really hit me, because I'm a nurse by trade, so I'm really into health, and just the fact that she got bit by a tick. She talked about she got bit by a tick, and it was a result of a lot of things. She was getting a divorce. She had a little child too, and that led into such huge medical issue for her life. And I mean, I'm talking about a great turnaround in her life to the point she was paralyzed, and just from the beginning of I think going through with the spouse and divorce and all this type of thing led up to a bunch of medical issues, and learning to find out being diagnosed, and goes into so much death and all this kind of things. And that was another really good story that touched my heart, and the others that you guys will, if you haven't read, like I said, just dig into it, because it's so many things that's in that book that you can probably say, you relate to, and find some answers, find how these women rise above their problems, rise above the issues, the pain, rise above the health issues and the guilt. And it's just so much things that's in there. And, I really do enjoy just knowing that you have took a stand. And when you mentioned that she told you, your author told you to go back and I need something deeper, I felt like you got healed when you said you poured out into that. You got healed, and it's so important for us to reach to that level. And I think God sent her your way, because if you were doing it at first your way, you would have been short in you'd have been very surface, like how you did it at first, and you would have been, well, I don't. And I mean, I've gone through that, same thing, writing a book. You're trying to figure out, how can I do this without maybe hurting a person, or, and what I've learned is, tell your truth, tell your truth, because your truth will be able to help somebody.
Absolutely.
Your truth will help bring somebody out of their situation. And, it's just what it is. You're telling what that you went through. So I don't know.
I do want to add one more thing, because the question is, how do you move from pain to power? How do all these women, go through these really horrific experiences and come out on the other side with joy and freedom? And so there's a secret to pain when you go through pain. And in the moment, it's difficult to see, but here's the secret to pain. Pain is either telling you that something needs to change or something is about to change. And so when you're experiencing pain, you have to ask the question. I remember Leslie telling me that, what is it that I need to learn from this? Or, Lord, prepare me for what's coming after this, because I know I'm on the brink of something. I know there's something on the other side of this. If I could just push through it, I'll see it. And so what some people do is when they see pain, they get intimidated, they get blinded, they start cowering back, they start complaining, and they're not asking those two questions: what needs to change, or what's about to change? And really lean into that and get wisdom from the Holy Spirit to prepare you to get to the other side of it. When you think about some of the really mighty men and women in the Bible that went through pain, and you saw the end result of their pain and the successes at the end. When you look at Joseph, when you look at David, when you look at Jesus Christ himself, when you look at Paul, when you look at all of those stories, that pain was like the funnel or the channel in which God birthed their ministry or their destiny. And so again, I just want to encourage anyone out there that's saying, oh my God, I'm just going through the worst experience of my life. Why is this happening to me? Why me? I don't want to live anymore. Stop. Ask God, what is it that I need to learn? Or where are you shifting me, or where are you taking me from here?
That's good. See what Leslie said?
Yes, she spoke that in my life. I never forgot it. Leslie, thank you.
So you see, that contributed to you being here on this national broadcast where you're seen all over the world. Because you're just not limited to Georgia. We got people in Japan watching, you got people in China watching. This is I don't want to say the pandemic, because that pan is meaning that it's worldwide, but it's not a demic or epidemic. So it's a good thing, because your voice is now spread throughout the world to tell people about pain, the secret to pain, you see. And all of us go through that, all of us. So you can apply that to every area of your life. The same thing with financial debt. Your changes. How come this all of a sudden happening to me? Same thing with your children. Whatever it is that's bringing us pain. I love that. We have to look and see. Okay, where am I going with this, or what do I need to change? That's a good one. Thank you. And the other thing I wanted to, ask you before we close out, because like I said, I wanted to make sure I kept you for a short period of time, because I would love to hear your story again, in a wider range, which one of these days will get you to talk about, divorce and a little bit more further. But I definitely want to ask you some things. Like, I know you talked about your experience, you talk about that, you talk about how it felt like compiling, with the different authors, and you talk about that. And you even mentioned about how long it took you the first time to finish, and then you went back and see how God accelerated your writing, because of your you surrendered. And when you surrender, you usually flow fast and quick. And you mentioned that to me too the other day. You said, I was like, I'm stressing over, getting this thing. You said, Dawn, just, trust me, it's going to come. And, when it comes, it's just going to flow. And I see, you're an example for that. So, apart from just talking about the pain, how can you encourage someone? This is going to be like our closing question, but how can you encourage someone? What are some of the things that you can say to a person who, what is similar to your situation, or something a little bit close to what you've experienced? How can you encourage someone, whether they're married or plan to get married, or want to go through a divorce? And I know you do this in your service, as far as being a divorce coach. How can you encourage someone that is in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a death. It's a living death. It's almost like, what could you say to somebody that lost a loved one? I mean, sometimes there's no words to say. And so my encouragement, and so I deal with the life after divorce, so I deal with the people that's already been divorced, is when I was thinking this week, I said, what was that thing that got me through? Like, I was really thinking about that, because I have to hone into that so I can teach people what that was. And it was the ability to create counter thoughts. That's the best way I can describe it. When those thoughts and the despair and the depression and all those things will start coming up with that counter thought, that positive thought that cuts through all of that negativity. For me, it was, I'm going to be better and not bitter from this. And so no matter what would come, I said, no, I'm going to be better. And it was constantly counteracting, like the Bible said, to take captive every thought that does not line up with the word of God. Taking captive of those thoughts and rearranging your mind, because your mind is an incubator. It's the birthing ground for which your life begins to manifest different things. And so we can get our thoughts under control and in check. We can begin to transform our life. And that was the secret. That was the seed for me to speak that over myself and say, I'm going to be better. One day I'm going to tell someone my story. One day when I figure out how to get out of this pain, I'm going to go back and teach others. And that's exactly what God did with my life. Everything I said was exactly what I'm living in today. So I would encourage you, if you're in a breakup or you've been through a divorce and you're broken, begin to speak, like Pauline said, begin to speak life over yourself. Begin to create a vision for your life, and compel a high water. Don't sway from what you are desiring to see manifest. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So we welcome, Pauline. We have few people that visited. Do we have any questions for Chidima? Do you have any questions for Chidima? I've kind of asked her some of the questions that, we were curious about. So she did a pretty good job. Do we have any questions before we kind of close in? So if you are typing or thinking about it again, those of you who are joining us, this is Chidima Anusium. She is a best-selling author. She goes by Author Chi. You can find her on Instagram, and I'm going to let her say, some of her contact areas. And yeah, so she has the book listed there. And when I tell you this book is pretty good, it's an anthology. So you have 10 authors in one book. And again, like I said, so my question to you, are you working on another book?
I can't tell you that. No, my little secret. Yes, of course. So Author Chi, that's my nickname. So I got to keep authoring, right?
Exactly.
I don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So pretty much, I do have visions for more books. I'm so excited. It's like I'm literally in the process of writing one now that I cannot wait to share with the world. It's going to be, so this book is shared a little bit about my story, but this book is really going to have all the meat and potatoes and the activities and things that women can walk through to really get healing. So I'm excited about it. I'm not going to say no more about that, but it's coming.
That's okay.
So please, okay. I'm just joking. But if you want to know more and stay in touch with me, I ask you to visit my website, www.authorchi.com, or you can visit me on Instagram at AuthorChi, or Facebook, same thing. YouTube, same thing, Author Chi. Kept it real simple, so you can find me any platform under that name. But my book is also available on my website. So if you want to order my book, you can go to my website and do so. And if you know someone, or if you are going through a divorce or a breakup and you need assistance picking your life back up, I do one-on-one coaching sessions as well to help assist you with that. So
awesome. And I don't know if Michelle, you're able to type in the chat for those who are looking and not able to write it down. So is www.authorchi.com, and the same thing for all the Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So we're supposed to be live on YouTube also, and all the except Instagram. That's the one platform I can't get from this streamline here, but yeah, so everybody should be able to see you, Chidima, and see where you're going. So, well, guess what? I have two books that I'm thinking about, and this is for the month of June, and I'm trying to decide. So I am trying to get vote from you guys. So the kindest lie is by Nancy Johnson. I have not read this book yet. I don't know as much about it, but it's a Black author, and I will be diving into this. And this one I have, gone through, and this is a really good book, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. So I would like to get y'all vote on which one I should do for the month. So I'm going to read this little passage real quick and just tell you. Okay, so they're twins, inseparable as children, and this one is The Vanishing Half. It's a really good book. It was like one on the, I think Oprah, one of those ladies. But twins, inseparable as children, ultimately choose to live in two very different worlds, one black and one white. See where that's going already? It's going to be good. The Vine sisters will always be identical, but after growing up together in a small southern black community and running away at age 16, it's not just the shape of their daily lives that is different as adults, it's everything, including their racial identities. Many years later, one sister lives with her black daughter in the same southern town she once tried to escape. Across the country, the other secretly passes for white, and her white husband knows nothing of her past. Still, although separate by so many miles and just as many lives, the fates of the twins remain intertwined. What will happen when their own daughter's storyline intersect? Weaving together multiple strands and generations from the deep south to California, from the 1950s to the 1990s, The Vanishing Half is at once a riveting, emotional family story and a brilliant exploration of race, gender, and identity, and the lasting influence of the past as it shapes a person's desires and expectations. That is this one.
That
So
sounds good, sis.
it's I won't even say anything else, but it is a good one. A promise could betray you. It's 2008, and this one is the kindest lie. Kindest lie. It's kind of like white lies. It's still a lie. It's 2008, and the rise of Barack Obama ushers in a new kind of hope. In Chicago, Ruth Tuttle, an Ivy League educated black engineer, is married to a kind of successful man. Educated black and is married to, okay. He's eager to start a family, but I don't think I want to read this. Did I read that right? Educated black engineer is married to a kind and successful man. Okay, Ruth. I was getting confused there. He's eager to start a family, but Ruth is uncertain. She has never gotten over the baby she gave birth to and was forced to give up when she was a teenager. She had promised her family she'd never look back, but Ruth knows that to move forward, she must make peace with the past. Returning home, Ruth discovers the Indiana factory town of her youth is plagued by unemployment, racism, and despair. While her family is happy to see her, they remind her of the painful sacrifices they made to give her a shot at a better future, such as the comfortable middle class life she now enjoys. Determined, Ruth begins digging into the past as she uncovers burning secrets her family desperately wants to hide. She unexpectedly befriends Midnight, a young white boy who is also adrift and looking for connection. When a traumatic incident strains the town's already scorching racial tensions, Ruth and Midnight find themselves on a collision course that could upend both their lives. The Kindest Lie examines the heartbreaking divide between black and white communities and plumbs the emotional depths of the struggles faced by ordinary Americans in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Capturing the profound racial injustice and class inequalities role in society, Nancy Johnson's debut novel offers an unflinching view of motherhood in contemporary America and the never ending quest to achieve the American dream. So that is this book. I don't know. We'll see. What do you guys say so far? Okay, that's please purchase the book of President Amazon. Okay, so Chidima, they were just putting up your information and to join the send to Happy Harvest. Okay, great. So tell us, let me know which book is better for you, The Kindest Lie or The Vanishing Halves. So that is that. I didn't see any questions arose for you, Chidima. Do you have anything last you want to say? Tell me which book you would have read. Oh, you.
I think I'll go with the first one. That one had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, and it will. Yes.
Don't stop reading. I want to know more.
I think I like the first one too. I'm not catching this one yet. So here's Chidima.
If you go to Shop Books, if you go to my website, go to Shop Books. You can purchase your book there. That way you get an autographed copy because Amazon does not do that. And so I would love for you to have an autographed copy. But my final words is thank you, Sister Dawn, for having me. Thank you for allowing me to share my story. Thank you for platforms like this. I'm sure all of the authors that you have on are benefiting from you creating this space for us. So we just want to thank you and celebrate you. And yes, Happy Harvest is going worldwide right now. So
Amen.
I celebrate you.
We receive it. We receive it because there's more people there to take care of and to hear stories that bring about change. So this might be a simple book club, but I mean this was powerful what you just discussed and talked about that can be impacting to people's lives. I just want to encourage you. I want to wish you the best success with your ministry, with changing lives and helping those people after divorce, pick up the pieces. And I think that's important in what you're doing because a lot of people go through divorce and they go on with the baggage to the next marriage. And then you find that they divorce again. And then you're like, I don't know what's wrong because you're not healed. You have not created a space to get all of that out the way. So when it comes to the trigger moments, because there's going to be a trigger where he may say something that sounds like what you heard, then you just let it go. You like a pressure cooker just been waiting, and you need that space where the top lid is boiling, and then when that's boiling, you don't need to be in no relationship. You need to get to that point. Just you did writing that you were writing because that was all in there, but it needed to come out. And when it comes out, believe it or not, it looks like you. So I thank God for your presence. I thank God for you taking this opportunity to come and share. And like I said, I do believe and trust that you are going to help a lot of people. And it's nothing more than when you have people like you that can speak truth, you understand, and let people feel that, hey, oh my God, if she's bold enough to, say that, maybe I can reach out. Maybe I can, find a way to deal with my situation too. So, well, I thank you all for watching. To find, okay, she's just adding that part. We need to find you. So she's updating everybody with your information. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arthur Tree, and thank you for coming. And oh, by the way, Chidima is going to be with us on the round table on the 19th. I'm excited about that. We are going to be talking about sexual purification. No, sexual purity, I'm sorry. And I know that's going to be mind blowing. So I'm looking forward to have you again. So I'll have her again for this 2 times in this month. You know what the month of June stands for? Creativity, innovation. That was my word I sent out today. And it also it's also the month for double. It's also the month for extra blessing portion. So anything you do in this season, just add a double portion to it. You'll be receiving double portion. So Chidima, I send double portion your way. You're in the month of June, and we're going to do things in big big, big portion because God is in the midst of it. Amen.
Amen.
Without further ado, I say goodbye to you all. Thanks for watching, and share. This will help someone. Thanks again. God bless you. Have a good night.